I'm sure she never had wanted to face. Spoke with her over times when she would come and stay at the inn. Have had numerous phone calls with her, or maybe not numerous, but a few really important ones at times that I knew she might have the answers to based on her life story, and she has been impactful and an inspiration to me. I am hoping that you all talk with her this morning. She's got a great life. She's a mom. She's a wife, or was a wife. She is a daughter. She's a businesswoman. She's an author. She has done a lot of things in her life. So please join me in welcoming Miss Deborah Edgar.
Thank you all so much. I want to tell you that I asked for this bar stool because some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life were from a bar stool. Okay, so I told, first of all, let me share with you that yes, Kelly and I met at one of the most, the most devastating time of my life. It's been 3 years. And I was on a healing journey, and I ended up at the inn, and I just fell in love with her staff, and you can't help but fall in love with the inn itself, right? And it provided a space for me to begin my healing journey. And the staff was so incredible, and they were so loving and wonderful to me. And I said, I have to meet the owner. And Shirley said, well, you know, she tries to stay a little incognito, but when she's here, you can find her hauling laundry from her car to the rooms. And I staked you out, really. And I waited for the opportune moment to introduce myself, and thankfully we have forged a friendship that I know will be a lifetime friendship. I don't have any notes today. I didn't come prepared with some little speech to give you all. It will come out. And Kelly and I talked about that, and I said, you know, I'm just going to let the Spirit speak this morning, and the inspiration for some of the things I'm about to say actually came from you all this morning. If you listened as we all went around the room and introduced and talked about who has inspired us most, there's a common thread of a few words. First of all, the vulnerability that you all shared this morning is remarkable. You all have obviously created a space here for everyone to feel safe and feel at home, to be able to speak in a way that may bring tears or, you know, generate a hug or whatever. So vulnerability, especially right now in the world we're living in, is a sacred thing. And then the other common thread was inspiration. I'm gonna sit on my stool, okay? Pretend we're just having a conversation here. Well, we are, we're not pretending. So, inspiration. Almost every single one of you used that word, that someone had inspired you in some way. The person who inspired me the most and kept me alive, literally, was my therapist. I entered therapy while I was going through a divorce when I was mid-30s. And I knew I had some troubles because I was born into dysfunction with a capital D. I was born into my mother's third marriage in 1957, which was unheard of. And it wasn't going to be her last. So if you're thinking maybe Elizabeth Taylor, you're right on track with that.
Wow.
And born in Wilmington, North Carolina, got disheveled all over the place, 3 siblings, none of us had the same father. And she moved us in the middle of the night to Richmond, Virginia to escape a marriage and to take up with her married alcoholic lover that she had been through several marriages and, continued that relationship. I tell you that not to, give a disparaging account of my mother, but to let you know where I came from. And it didn't end there. There was a lot of alcoholism, a lot of abuse. I barely made it through high school, but I came out of high school with 2 really great skills. Does anybody in here, some of us are old enough to know what shorthand is? Anybody know shorthand? Okay. It was a second language in the 70s and 80s. And what it was is it was an abbreviation of words that you could scribble a little symbol for, and you could transcribe a conversation in a split second. And it was really very valuable in the business world because a manager or whomever could dictate a letter to you. You could scribble it on a page, and it would take 2 minutes, and then you would go back to your desk and type it up into a letter, or, we didn't have email then. So it was going in the mail to somebody. And the other thing I could do was I could type 100 words a minute. So those 2 skills took me from practically a high school dropout to elevated administrative positions in public relations and all kinds of high-level jobs in the corporate world. Fast forward a little bit till I was 45 years old, 25 years ago. 43. I don't want to age myself more than I am. I was 43 years old when I found out totally by accident that my biological father was not my father. And given all the history that I had gone through and the abusive situation that I had grown up in, it was devastating news because I had built my identity around at least knowing who my father was. So that flipped my world upside down, and I had been in counseling with this wonderful woman by the name of Roberta Damon. She is 90 years old, and over counseling together since I was 45 years old, so 25 or 30 years, we became very good friends. After she dismissed me from counseling and told me that I didn't need her anymore. She's 90 now, and next Friday, she is moving to Brazil. So if that is not some inspiration for you, I don't know what would be. She has inspired me and encouraged me and picked me up off the floor countless times. But through the healing process, I was able to really get to know myself and to feel really encouraged about my future and to know that I am not identified by where I came from. I am identified by who I have become and my growth today and tomorrow. And just this morning, you all have inspired me incredibly with your stories and your bravery and naming the women who have come before you or walked beside you and continue to do that. And I share my story only in hopes of being a word of encouragement or an indication of what is possible. So 45 to, 55 or 60, I was coasting. I was doing great. I had quit my administrative job and I had gotten my real estate license. I had 2 sons, not knowing how I was going to afford to just quit my luxury job and get my real estate license and start selling real estate with not a clue about what I was doing. So I can relate to all of you. We've spoken on the phone, Michelle. I can't wait to speak with you a little bit more. So all of you, everybody in here who has taken the brave step that is necessary to walk out on your own and say, I'm going to do this. It doesn't hurt if you have something to prove, which I had, something to prove. Thankfully, I don't have that anymore. But back then I did. I had something that I needed to prove to myself and to my parents, who had said I would never amount to anything. And they meant that literally. So I used that time to really grow myself and to get to know myself and to be in counseling and take on a spiritual journey that led me to really know who I am and who my Creator created me to be. Well then, with no warning, no expectation, and really no desire, I met the absolute love of my life. We both had been through some rocky relationships. We shared similar backstories. And he called me up one day, was a stranger, and wanted to see a property that I had listed on the market. And I was really irritated. I was like, oh, he wants to meet on a Saturday morning. It was January, it was cold, bitter, bitter cold. And I had plans to go with my girlfriends to go shopping and have lunch in Tappahannock. And he was really interfering with my plans. Well, I went to the property, I got everything set up, I got all the lights turned on. Y'all know how it is, you have to get there early, make sure everything's opened up and get everything, set for the showing. And here he comes in a big old beat up blue pickup truck onto the property, and I've got my arms crossed like, oh, here we go, it's gonna be a total waste of time. He steps out of the truck. I step out of my car to introduce myself. I have everything in my hands, keys, my file folder, all the information you need to show a house. He steps out of the truck, I look him up and down, and I drop everything in my hands. I mean, literally, drop everything, and it falls on the ground. Well, now I'm embarrassed. I'm like scrambling to pick everything up. I'm like, oh my God. And in my head, I'm going, no good can come of this. Don't even go there. But I'm looking for a ring. Has he got a ring on? No, he doesn't have a ring on. I'm like, okay. But I go into full real estate gear, very professional, showing the property. And, I noticed that he starts lingering in the buildings. There were 3 buildings. It was a pretty large property that he was looking at. And so anyway, long story short, which I won't bore you with all the details, we fell madly in love. But we took our time because we were both terrified, and we had both said that this would never, ever happen to us again, that we wouldn't allow it. And it sent both of us back into therapy, by the way. He went into his therapist, I went into mine, and then we had to meet each other's therapist, and the whole thing.
Did he buy the property?
And no, he didn't. But he ended up buying another one.
Okay.
And it was a house that he wanted us to share together. And we renovated it from the studs up over a 2-year period of time and made it our home. And we were together for 5 years. And now when I tell you this story, you don't have to gasp and, go, oh my God, and all that, because it is it's something that doesn't happen to a lot of people. John and I were dancing at my son's wedding reception with our grandchildren, and he collapsed and died on the dance floor at my son's wedding. And to say that it was horrific is an understatement. My boys and my family and my grandchildren adored him and cherished our relationship, and he did them as well. So it wasn't just a loss for me of, you wake up one morning and someone has, any death is tragic. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But when you're in a mode of celebration and everybody is celebrating love and, it's an exciting time, let me share with you that when somebody drops dead in front of you on a dance floor, the celebration stops real quick. And I felt so terrible for my kids because, there they are trying to celebrate their love, and this is their day. And it ended abruptly with, tragic news. I'm not going to say fast forward to where we are today because it was a grueling, awful, terrible, tragic process to go through, but one that required a lot of love around me and my family, and a lot of patience and a lot of kindness. And what I discovered along the way is that our culture doesn't do very well with grief. Anybody in here experience that, where the culture just doesn't embrace grief very well? And I had been through enough therapy that I thought, well, I tell you what, I'm going to face this head on. I'm going to do it from a standpoint of observation, and I'm going to dive in deep, and I am going to allow myself to grieve in the way that is going to be healthy. And so I did. But what I started to notice was how that was accepted or not accepted by the culture. So I wrote a little book about it. It's called Good Grief, a holistic and practical approach to healing through heartache. And what I want you to know is grief just isn't about death. Anybody in here going through any kind of grief associated with relationships, divorce, children's issues, work issues? You know, grief covers a lot of territory, and we need to be prepared for it when it happens. So I don't really know what this says. I wrote it in a 3-month period of time during my healing process, but I can only tell you that I believe that it is from my heart and from the standpoint of wanting to heal, and I hope that there are some nuggets in here for everyone who wants to take better care of their souls, no matter what is going on in your life. And so I want to thank you for having me here this morning. I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, but nothing is more important to me than inspiring you to reach your goals and aspirations. So I thank you for having me.
So some of you that know me know that I'm just going to say this. I can come across at times very aloof, maybe sometimes a little harsh. We all deal with our emotions in many different ways. I personally really struggle sometimes with saying the right thing or knowing how to say the right thing. I am a brilliant Hallmark shopper. I can find the right card because it says the things I don't always know how to say. Some of you know Lori Gore. Lori lost her mom and then her sister just a few months later. And I saw a friend suffering so badly, and I didn't know how to talk to her without sounding cliche. I called Deborah because I was hurting seeing someone else hurting. And she talked me through, I don't know, we probably talked for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, because I didn't know how to reach my friend. I gave Lori a copy of this book, and while Lori can't be here today, she wanted me to tell you that this book helped put her back together. And she is so grateful for the words and you sharing this, because again, grief is so detrimental to all of us in many ways, and it's not just losing a friend or a parent. We grieve when we lose a job. We grieve when we lose possible business. We grieve in so many different ways, and as women, we are expected to stand tall, be strong, be that whatever it is that we are, and it's really okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be having those moments. So I want to personally thank you because you brought so much to my life, and this woman is just incredible. So she brought books today. I'm not sure how much they are.
They are nothing.
Oh.
I'm gifting every one of you a book, but I do want to let you know that I have a big box of books in the back of my car. If you know someone who is grieving, if you know someone who is struggling, please let me know. If you want me to write a little note in your book or their book, I am gifting all of these books today. It's really important to me because, You know, it's like Kelly said, and when I spoke with her about Lori, and I've had this conversation numerous times, our culture just does not know how to deal with it, and we have all these cliches that, quite frankly, are not helpful. They are harmful, some of them, and everybody means well. Let me make that very clear. I know everyone means well, but we can raise the bar. We can raise the bar, and we can lift one another up in our darkest moments. And I don't want you to think I don't want you walking out of here today going, ooh, that was all doom and gloom. I hope you don't. I hope you walk out of here inspired to take the next little step for yourself or towards someone else who needs you today. Whoever said, Mitzi, you said that phone call? Let me tell you, if it weren't for people like Kelly and tons of other people reaching out to me in my darkest moments, I don't know what I would have done. I really don't. And you don't know the power of a phone call to another person just to say, hey, wanted to reach out and let you know I'm thinking of you today. You don't have to say anything else. You don't have to say, I know how you feel. You don't have to say, oh, you're young, you'll get over it. You don't have to say any of those things. You can just say, I love you and I'm thinking of you. Do that for one other person in your life today. Just one.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask all of you, and I'll share Elaine's contact to do that maybe for Elaine today or over the next couple of days, because she really needs to know that there's a community that loves her. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here today, because I adore every single one of you. Some of you I know a little bit better than others, but I admire each and every one of you also. We all have great stories. And be proud of who you are and reach out and connect. So that's all.